Hello, my name's Andy Plater. I'm based in the Department of Geography and Planning at the University of Liverpool. This is an overview of the ARCOS project, Adaptation and Resilience of Coastal Energy Supply to Future Sea Level Rise and Storms. The ARCOS project aims to identify the risk to energy infrastructure that lies in the coastal zone as a result of future sea level rise and storms. The focus is primarily the northwest region of the United Kingdom, but it also looks at different nuclear sites around the coast. These include Bradwell, Sizewell, Hinkley Point and Sellafield. Each of these sites represents a different coastal setting. As well as identifying the potential future flood risk, we also look to identify those implementation measures that could be put in place to mitigate this risk. The basis for the potential future flooding inundation maps comes from sea level projections that are regarded as low probability but plausible projections of sea level rise. They extend through to 2020, 2050, 2080, but also extend our knowledge beyond this to 2100, 2200 and eventually to 2500 AD. In this way, we're looking at the potential risk that comes from sea level rise of the order of 5 metres or so. We employ models to examine the coastal response to these changes due to sea level rise and storms, specifically looking at the response of beaches and wetlands such as salt marshes in relation to mitigating that risk as a natural buffer zone. We also undertake monitoring of the coastline. This includes fixed camera, video and instrumentation of particular coastlines during storms, and also radar monitoring of the coastline during the interstorm period. Our main outputs enable stakeholders and communities to explore the potential risk that comes from this flooding, but also to identify interventions that can be put in place to mitigate that risk. As a result, our outputs inform decision makers about how to build resilience at the coastline to make them more resilient to future flooding due to sea level rise and storms. We also include an assessment of the potential economic impact from flooding and what that might mean in relation to operational losses. Hence, there's a significant economic basis for our future projections within the outputs from the programme. An important part of what we do is ensuring that our outputs meet the right audience to be able to build the resilience of the coast. Hence, our outputs are targeted at key decision makers at local and regional level, and also at sectoral level, those who are engaged in energy distribution and also energy production. This is an important part of research to ensure that we deliver impact, that the research is actually used to support better decision making so we have sustainable future energy. There are a number of components to the ARCOS project. The first is modelling. It is an important part of scoping potential futures. Our modelling, for example, looks at potential flood risk due to sea level rise and storms. It also includes modelling of beach profile and coastal morphology in terms of natural wave energy dissipation. In some instances, the flood modelling also includes wave overtopping, where the sea defences are overtopped by high waves. And in one example, it also includes high river flow, which adds additional water into the coastal zone. As a consequence, we're able to provide information in relation to coastal erosion risk and also how sediments are transported at regional seas level, in this case within Liverpool Bay and the Irish Sea. An important aspect of this work is also to establish what the economic basis is for intervention, and so therefore identifying where and when to best intervene in terms of building resilience through investment is an important aspect of project output. In addition to modelling, we also undertake monitoring. This enables us to understand how the coast responds to specific events. So we do a considerable amount in terms of determining behaviour of beaches during storm events. Colleagues at Plymouth undertake monitoring of beaches by instrumenting them, by fixed camera and video monitoring, and also by looking at the topography of the beach before and after storm events. Other colleagues also use radar for the same reason. Here we can track where the waves are breaking, and from that determine the three-dimensional morphology of a beach. The modelling and monitoring are brought together into an online decision support tool. This is in essence a geographic information system that enables a non-expert user to explore future scenarios of sea level rise in combination with storms of increasing or decreasing magnitude. As a result of these selected combinations of future sea level rise and storm frequency, a user is then able to explore areas that are vulnerable to flooding. The decision support tools form the basis for engagement with local stakeholders. These are people who have responsibility for resource allocation and addressing issues of coastal risk. Therefore, an important element of our work is to disseminate the findings through the decision support tool. This isn't just a one-way process, it's an interactive process whereby we sit and listen to potential users of the decision support tool to see how it's best communicated and how it might be updated to bring in new information as it becomes available. In addition to highlighting areas that are vulnerable to future flooding, our decision support tool also offers guidance on interventions that may be able to build coastal resilience to this future flood risk. One of the most obvious is to use the natural protective function of beaches, wetlands and salt marshes. Another is to raise the height of sea defences or build new defences in areas which are particularly vulnerable to flooding. In some instances, this might even include the construction of storm surge barriers. We also use our understanding of the past in coastal lowland environments to demonstrate how we might be able to reinstate the natural resilience of the coast, and in this case this might involve managed realignment through the creation of wetlands which are characterised by the natural rise and fall of the tide. What we're identifying as a new option is not just to recharge beaches on the small scale, but instead to recharge beaches on a large scale, something known as mega recharging or sandscaping. Here, sufficient sediment is put on the shoreline to be able to reduce wave energy and to ensure that sufficient sediment is in place for decades, again affording some level of natural protection in addition to whatever defences might be in place. Dissemination is an important component of the ARCOS project. Here we focus on the outputs that are emerging from our research. Outputs include video series, that's looking at the various elements of our project work, how we engage with stakeholders, how our modelling is being used. We also, of course, produce peer-reviewed publications which are in the public domain. These are open access, so we ensure that there's unrestricted access to these outputs. We also include in our outputs conference presentations, workshops and posters, but also the dissemination events that we undertake. These outputs, they therefore provide an important resource base for academics and also users of our information to follow up in more detail should that be required. Thank you very much for listening. I hope that you found this helpful. There is, of course, additional information available. We have other videos available online, which of course you'd be able to explore, and also other online resources that provides further information on a range of different aspects of ARCOS and other research. We also have a discussion board where we'd very much welcome your comments on applications, maybe future collaborations, or most importantly, key problems that you believe our tools would help you address. Any specific inquiries, please feel free to direct those to the ARCO's Project Office. The ARCO's research is funded through the EPSRC, overseen by the ARCC network.